Make sure we're live here. Oh, come on. Okay. Hello and welcome to Michael Pepper Tech Talk. This is Creator Interview Episode 2 with special guest Apple Monster. We will find out his real name in a minute. So please join us on this journey as we get to know a fellow creator and someone that I would like to call a great friend. What's up?
Hey, what's up, man?
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Not too bad, finally on here and didn't didn't blow anything up or anything like that. So
Oh, gee. Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me on, man. Greatly appreciate it, man.
so my first question here, I'm gonna kind of type this in as I'm going. So where and why did you decide Apple Monster? And I guess I would say, why did you decide to kind of give yourself a name that implies a very specific company and direction?
So when I first started my channel, I was originally T-Tech Mania. I was basically gonna do it with a friend of mine. We were gonna cover everything tech. And then he stepped out of the picture, and I did it on my own. Um, all I knew and all I know at the current time was everything Apple. I had just gotten my iPad, so I decided to do a lot of videos on that, hardware and software wise. So it was just basically, explaining uh, my experience with the products. I was going to do videos as well on maybe asking creators and stuff certain things in which I didn't know about products. But then I started looking around, watching everybody else's videos, and it seemed kind of interesting to me. So I made a video on my iPhone 10 at the time, and um, so I did a review on it, covering the basics, camera, all that stuff, and everything just started building up from there. Um, my um, my first video was the iPhone, and then I got my Apple Watch. Started thinking, well, how do I do stuff with my Apple Watch? So I went on YouTube, searched a YouTuber, liked what he did, and I said, I don't know too much, but watching everybody else, I started learning more and more, and just giving people my experience, asking my family and my friends, hey, what do you want me to cover on the channel? So I would do my research and cover it on my channel for them. And then it just started growing out from there. And then I reached out to other creators, had them on my channel, and here I am today.
Cool. So it mainly derives from or comes from your more privy to or have more experience and knowledge with that particular Apple ecosystem and their products. So you
Yes.
wanted to cover that. That makes sense. It's like that's why I'm Michael Pepper Tech Talk, because I didn't want to limit it to like smartphone or whatever, because I do
Right.
know some PC stuff and I wanted to not I also wanted to do tech news. So that makes sense to me. So
Yeah. I
my next thing is um How's your channel been doing? So underneath this is, are you happy? I guess I would say, has it been doing well? And are you happy with like your views and subscribers and things like that you've been getting?
Um, when it comes to views and subs, I am happy as to where I am. Do I wish that I had a couple more views? Absolutely. And that's why I go on Twitter and Instagram and I ask people, hey, what do you guys want to see? What do you guys think about this subject? And I always say, if at the end of my video, if you guys want to see something or ask me something, comment down below or join me on my social media. Reach out to me there, and I'll do my best in covering whatever it is they want to see. So because there will be certain times that like I want to record a video, but I don't exactly know what to cover. Because there's already a lot of videos out there, and I don't want to copy or do the same thing that everybody else is doing. So I am happy to where I am. I'm very surprised to see that I've gotten to where I am. And that's all thanks to two YouTubers who have helped me along the way. I don't think I would be here where I'm at 184 subscribers if it weren't for the help that I got. So I am blessed to be here and to be so welcome into the community. There's a couple of YouTubers who always check in and say, hey, if you need advice on this or that, just reach out to me and I'll gladly help you. And here I am.
Okay. That's awesome to hear. You know that I'm fairly new to this too, and so it's pretty cool to see both of us, getting up close to that 200 subs mark within such a brief amount of time, because there's people that go a whole year and a half before they hit 100. So,
Oh yeah,
um,
I went like a year and a half, and um, I actually I actually was wanting to collaborate or do a live stream with Nikias Molina. I'm not sure if you know who that is. Um, and so I made a video out to him, and within a day, he reached out to me. And a couple of days later, I was on his stream. I was at that time, I was at like 75, 76 subscribers. And one live stream got me to 110 subscribers. And after that, it was just the matter of creating all the time, setting the schedule, and all of that.
so my next kind of topic of discussion is what are your goals for this year, as far as like, do you have a specific subscriber goal, view goal, and um just a little bit on um like, do you have any changes that you're going to do, things you want to implement this year, um that type of thing?
So I gotta say, when it comes to subscribers, I would love to get at least maybe 400, if not more, by the end of the year. Um, when it comes to views, I'm not really sure. I definitely like over 30, 40 maybe. Again, it comes to what people want to see, what people are looking for. And like I said, whatever it is that they want to see, always let me know and I can do my research and cover that topic. Um, so I'm trying to work on maybe getting bigger or smaller creators to do live streams with me. Something where maybe doing event coverage or something like that. Talking about um, what they thought about a certain event, or even before events, giving our opinions on what's going to happen, that sort of thing. Collaborating more with other creators and doing live streams with other creators, being on their channel and being on my channel as well.
So, I have another couple questions for you, as well as here that just kind of popped into mind. But one would be um, the current technology that you're using as far as phone. I know smartwatch, computer, tablet, things like that. Um, Webcam, headphones, those types of things. What's your setup that you're using to stream, and then what's your phone that you carry currently?
Um, when it comes to my phone, I have the iPhone 11 in red. I love this phone. As you can see, I have the clear case, so it's like all beat up. But the phone itself is pretty good. I love the cameras on it. Um, I have the 9.7-inch iPad, I think, from 2018. And I have the Apple Watch Series 4. I do have AirPods, but they were dead, so I couldn't use them. For streaming, I have an HP computer. Um, the Apple MacBook or Mac, it doesn't speak my language when it comes to money. So unfortunately, I couldn't get that. But I honestly barely use the HP computer, only when I'm streaming, because unfortunately we can't stream on the iPad yet. Um, but yeah, that's basically what I use.
If you install Chrome on your iPad, you can join StreamYard from there, by the way.
Oh,
For
okay.
some reason, Safari's desktop mode, even though it's desktop mode, StreamYard doesn't like it. So I figured that one out. I was like, if you use Google Chrome, you should be able to do it. And you should be able to even start a stream from there too. Um,
Oh shoot. So I might just do that.
yeah.
Because honestly, like this computer is like really, really slow. When it comes to doing my own stream, I it'll take like at least 5 minutes to set up the stream, go on to another tab. And mind you, sometimes I can't even go on to another tab. Like I'll open the tab and it'll take like 5 minutes just to load up the page.
Oh geez.
Go on Twitter and send. I'll have to click the send button at least 10 times for it to send the link to someone.
That's awful, because
So,
like, I literally came up here and hit the power button, and my computer started up, and it opened the tabs that I had open in Chrome already set up yesterday, like, started it up, launched those up, like, in 30 seconds, and I'm using a 2012, Mac Mini.
oh wow.
But I also have a 256 gig solid state drive and 16 gigs of RAM that I put in it. So that does help.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, it outperforms as far as benchmarks the 2017 i7 27-inch iMac. So
Yeah. I would love to get a MacBook one day. I'm completely locked into the Apple ecosystem, the way I do my videos and everything. Because I don't know if you know, but I record with my phone and edit with my iPad. So just airdropping it to my iPad, editing it, and whatever. it's so awesome. And the way I have my setup, whenever I get a phone call or text message, it also goes to my iPad, so I can answer on either or. So it's really awesome. I
The
don't.
handover is really nice. The
Yeah,
handover ability, yeah.
yeah. I
Handoff.
don't. I don't see. Um, I haven't seen anything like it when it comes to Android. I mean,
It's
I mean,
they have it
maybe.
now. Like Samsung has the link to Windows, and like Google, if you have a Chromebook or like one of their tablets, it will do it. But the problem is you have to set it up. It's not just like, oh, you've signed in and it automatically kind of does it. You have to go in and like download the app and connect things. Um,
Yeah.
so along the same lines, what would be your ultimate setup?
Um, I gotta say maybe a MacBook. Um, Obviously my iPad for like if I had a MacBook, then I'd just use my iPad for when I travel. Um, and AirPods and the watch and everything.
Okay, cool. So like my ultimate setup would be a when they come out with the updated version this year, a 2020 MacBook decked out i9, like specced out, the like $8,000 version
Yeah,
with
yeah,
like two of their 6K monitors because I know it will be able to support it. A a couple of microphones because I wanted like the Shure SM7B
yeah,
for when I do
definitely.
my streams and podcasts, but I also want a nice boom mic for when I do my videos so it doesn't have to sit in front of me. And
Right.
I've used this one. Like I used this for when I did that intro video and I had it like up out of the way, but I have to turn up the gain so much that like you hear people from other rooms. So a nice like directional mic would be nice. And as far as that, also like a soundboard and a nice high-end camera and cam link. And
Yeah,
also the reason
definitely.
I would want that stuff is portability with the MacBook, and I love photography, and there's still nothing like it using a digital camera. I have a Nikon D5000, but it's uh it's being beat out by phones, so that's not good.
Oh,
Like quite
yeah,
literally, like
yeah,
my 2-year-old iPhone 10 a lot of times gets clearer pictures, even though they're the same resolution, just because it's it's not supported by software. It's not like there's software updates. I don't have I can't use Wi-Fi with it. There's no like plugging a microphone into it unless you use a bunch of adapters. No like plugging it into the wall to use it as a webcam unless you use adapters. Like what I would spend on adapters, I could buy a new camera.
yeah, yeah.
I would really, really, really like one
This,
of the new Nikons because I am not a Sony or Canon person, and
yeah,
I have some reasons behind I won't support Sony because they basically kind of screwed us all over. So,
mm,
they actually have some patents that they won't let companies use, which would have provided film-like quality in digital. But now we're stuck with the Bayer array, and it's very, very, very poor compared to using film. And they actually had a way to replicate the actual color capture of film on digital. So,
so I'm gonna take a picture here for you to see my computer.
okay.
Um,
If you want to send that to me,
yeah,
um, you have my um You still have my Pepper MSU, right?
I believe so. Yes.
If you just do peppermsu@gmail.com, you can send that to me and it'll pop up on my computer and then I can share it. So the nice thing of iMessage.
You said peppermsu@gmail.
Yeah, it should then pop up on my computer in a second here, and I should be able to. Um, Hopefully, so we'll see. But anyways,
All right, I sent it.
okay. So that's a nice thing about this ecosystem. But so
Yeah, definitely.
my next question is, if you had to choose a company that wasn't Apple to go entirely with, what company would you go with?
Um, maybe Google, to be honest.
And I will specify you don't have to go with their particular like laptop alternative if you don't want to, because Google, you kind of get stuck with a Chromebook, and
Yeah,
Samsung basically blows them out of the water on that. But
yeah,
um Google, yeah, I can see that. Especially because otherwise you lose the Google Assistant, because if you can only use
yeah,
Samsung, you can't use Google's smart speaker. You can't use. Nope, that's not allowed. That's a
yeah,
so,
yeah,
and then
exactly.
you're stuck with their tablet and stuff. I mean, they have good stuff, but I can agree on that. Um, Especially as far as camera stuff. So, um,
Exactly, yeah.
you need to look up when you get a chance. Go on YouTube and look for the comparison videos. I found one comparing the S20 to the iPhone 11 Pro Max. I'm
Oh,
kind of
really?
I'm kind of disappointed. So,
Who exactly?
there was a couple of them. There was a guy from India that posted, and it was pretty disappointing to see. So, I googled it and then clicked on the video link. But as far as let's get back to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you could design your ultimate smartphone, give me a rundown of like build, cameras, processor, operating system, things like that. If you were to design your ultimate smartphone, it could be a folding device, it could turn into whatever you want, but what would be your ultimate for that?
Uh, um, I gotta say, I don't remember what company it was that did the that pop out camera. So like I would do something like that. When it comes to uh software, definitely iOS. I mean, definitely. Internals, probably what iPhone has. And when it comes to like charging port, um, either Lightning or USB C.
The pop-out camera, are you talking about like the one that pops up from the top, or the one that like swings
Yeah,
around? Okay, so like the OnePlus 7 Pro.
the OnePlus. Yeah, that's the one. Yep.
Or if you want to go super cheap, the $200 Bold N1 has one of those.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Um, so what would you be looking at, like camera wise, like ultra wide, wide, telephoto, macro, resolution, things like that?
Um, Max resolution. Definitely wide angle. Night mode. Night mode. It has to be. I don't know if you've seen my videos that I posted yesterday, but I really want to see something where it has night mode and portrait mode in the same thing. Because currently the iPhone 11, the night mode doesn't do like a good portrait mode. Um, so I kind of want to see something like that.
I'm sending you something in the private chat on here, just so you know.
Oh, sure.
Your message didn't go through, so if you can send me like your number or your email or whatever, I'll send you something from my computer, because with switching phones and stuff, some things switching up, I don't know why my iMessage is acting funny. So I might have to send you something so that I know what it actually needs to send to. So,
Okay.
um, um, so what do you think about if there's a potential chance or possibility of, okay, of Apple doing something similar to Dex, or like the desktop mode? Do you think that they'll ever do something where like your phone or your iPad plugs in and you'll get like full on Mac type, or like you dock your phone or your iPad and it recognizes that you're using a larger display and lets you do like 4 apps open in quadrants on your monitor or TV? What do you think the chances of that happening are?
I mean, maybe, I don't know, like 1 out of 100, I believe. I don't know if they're quite ready for that yet. Um, but I mean, all these companies are surprising us with different things every year. So, um, it would be cool to see what what they would do. Um, that would be a cool idea. So it's just a matter of time of seeing what Apple can do with that.
So along the same lines of that, what would you like to see these companies do with these devices that either they aren't doing or similar to what they are doing, but like, is there something, I guess, that they're already doing, but a particular way you'd like it to be done better, or something that you are like, they need to do this?
So back to what I was saying about the cameras. I would love to see something better with night mode and portrait built into one. I'm not saying that it's not good as it is right now. It is, but having both combined, I think that it would be a much uh, better picture when it came to taking pictures both with night mode and portrait. Um, yeah, that's pretty much all I can have. I mean, battery is pretty good. Performance is pretty good. Um, so honestly, just bettering off the cameras and anything else they can think of. Um, Definitely software. I know a lot of people were saying that, and myself included, when it comes to notifications, like phone calls and stuff, um, to be able to have, like, let's say you were watching a video or just doing something on your phone, but you get a phone call. Right now, you have to stop whatever you're doing in order to either answer or deny the call,
Mm-hmm.
or you would have or you're just forced to wait until the call eventually goes to voicemail. If they had the pop up on the top of the screen where Android does on some of their phones, it would just be better. That way, people don't assume that, oh, you don't want to talk to them, so you're just going to send them to voicemail all the time. So with the pop up, it could just ring, 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 and that nobody knows if you're really near your phone or not. So I hope that they do that. Also, um, I'm hoping that they do the multitask like they have on the iPad. I know a lot of people were asking for that. For smaller phones, I don't think that's really possible, but with the newer phones like the iPhone 11 Pro, 11 Pro Max, um, I think that it should be possible considering the size of the phone. Even when it comes to, um, YouTubing and you get a message or something, having both uh, those options on one screen, I think would be useful. I mean, if we can do it on the iPad, there shouldn't be really an excuse for that iPhones don't have that as well.
I agree because, like, when you're doing something and you get an iMessage, how you can tap on it and it pops open like a screen over what you're
Yeah,
doing, so you don't have to go in. I would like to see something similar, but like that pops open and you can just grab it and drag it to the bottom of the screen and it goes into like split.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
even a
that,
setting that you could say, no matter what I'm doing, if a message comes through and it comes in a notification and I click it, put it at the bottom. Like you
yeah,
could just set it up. The other thing that I've been thinking about that no company does yet is why don't they have it? You know how you have your docked icons on the home screen? Why
yeah,
don't they have that so it's available everywhere? Like, you could
yeah,
just have that along the bottom and you could just like you can do on your computer, so you could switch between without having to go into, like, the recent apps or, edge panel sliding from the side, or, like, LG has the little, popover bar that they implemented. Um,
yeah,
so reverse wireless charging for iPhone, would you want it? So I'm kinda done
that,
with my questions, so I'm just gonna do that, and then if I come up with some more things, we'll go from there, but, um
sure,
well, it's hard because, like, basically, we've gotten to know you, so now we'll just kinda have some fun and answer
yeah,
some questions,
absolutely.
and, I thanks for coming on and doing this. Is there before we do this, is there anything that I didn't cover that you kinda want people to know about you? Obviously, his links are in the description for YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. If you're not subscribed, please do for both my channel and his as well. And if you have any questions, obviously, of course, if you're not watching this live, you can post those in the comments and I will respond. If you have a question for him, I will let him know and he can respond, or you can go on his channel and post a question on one of his videos and I know he'll answer. So, and
Yeah, absolutely.
so as far as reverse wireless charging, yes, especially if it's Samsung just did you know that, I didn't know this because I didn't make a big deal out of it, but the S20s now has its 9-watt reverse wireless charging now.
Really?
So, like, last year, I
I don't
think
know
was
that.
last year was, like, 2.5 watt. So
Yeah,
they've almost quadrupled it, yeah, and
shoot.
the huge deal on that was for fast charging the Buds Plus.
Yeah,
So that you can hold it to the back of your phone while you're traveling and, like, 2 minutes later, they're charged, up enough.
yeah, yeah,
So, like, you can get an hour charge or so by just holding the case like that and, you know, that's a huge deal to me. I mean, it's not anything super
definitely.
crazy, but considering if you use
No,
that
it
in
it,
I mean,
it, it would definitely be useful.
if you have an iPhone 11 like you have, and let's say I'm carrying one of the new Samsung devices, I could just hold mine up and you would be getting faster charging than you get out of the box.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's only half
Exactly.
of their fast charging, but still, that's pretty cool to see. Um,
Yeah, I definitely think Apple should do that because, like, you know, as I've said in videos, um, instead of carrying um, bunches and bunches of wires for your different devices, because now the iPhone and um, iPad Pro have different chargers. So instead of doing that, I think reverse wireless charging would be helpful. That way, you're not carrying everything all jumbled up. Especially if you're just going to go out for the day, you don't want to have to grab your wires and go. Because there'll be times where you need to get out in a hurry and you don't have time for all that. So having your iPad or and your phone do that, or let's say you were using your AirPods for the day, watching videos, listening to music, and then the AirPods die, just like Samsung did. Just slap the AirPods on the back of the phone. And honestly, I was really thinking that iPhone 11 was going to come out with um, the reverse wireless charging, because if you notice, the Apple logo is further down, and a lot of people were thinking that that's what it was going to be, but we haven't heard anything. But yeah, if we did have something like that, and they did put it on the back where the logo was, that would be amazing. That'd be amazing
um,
and super helpful.
so I'm speculating on this, so then I'm gonna say iOS 14 is going to open that up. That the iPhone 11s all already have it, but the software wasn't ready yet because.
Yeah,
So here's the thing. Here's my speculation. The um Apple Watch Series 6, they're gonna make it so it has more of a flat back so
right.
that it can, because the problem is with the rounded back, it can't wirelessly charge on anything but a device that has that dimple in it. Like I can't hold my Apple Watch to the back of my Samsung phone and use reverse wireless charging on it, because even though it uses Qi charging, it doesn't make contact with enough of that outer ring of the surface. So I'm going to say they're going to go more flat on the back, and they'll still be able to do the pins for your heart rate and stuff, and then they'll open it up. Because the reason Apple took till this past year to do wireless charging to begin with their iPhones was actually a disagreement that they had with developing a unified protocol for Qi charging.
Yeah,
They needed to get the companies to all say, we're going to support a certain set, so that way, because the way the iPhone charges is to prevent from overheating. That's why it takes so long. Like the last 2 or 3% of your charge, like 97 to 100%, takes so long.
yeah,
And that's also why they were able to charge, from 0 to 50% in a half an hour. Yeah, other companies can do it faster, but it's software based partially, but also they have hardware that's actually implemented in there to prevent overheating and things like that with wired and wireless charging. So I think they just needed to get these companies all to say, hey, we're going to stick with the standard where the minimum support for wireless charging will be 5 watts on these devices, and it will go all the way up to a certain point. And they needed to get their software to be able to recognize things. And I think that, as bad as iOS 13 kind of was when it came out, it would have been even
yeah,
worse if they had allowed that, because they had all the camera updates. They had um like some new software stuff that they put in the background, stuff that people don't even really talk about.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so to add one more thing, I think would have made it
I
worse.
think everybody
So
would.
I think
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
and so along the lines of what we were talking about too, I'd like to see air power done with an iPad. Basically, you flip your iPad
Yes.
over and you can set your phone and your watch on it. So if you like go to a hotel or something, carry one USB cable and just set
Yes.
your devices down on it. They can
Yep.
even do that with the outer shell of their MacBooks if they wanted to. I thought it would be a great idea to have the surface on the outside of the MacBook be Qi charger, and then when you flip it up on either side of the trackpad as well.
Yeah,
Um,
that'd be cool.
I don't understand why PCs haven't done that yet. So you just
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
like they do NFC where you can take your phone and you touch it and it will sync up. Samsung's done that. That's one of the things that they did really well with like their tablets and their computers and stuff. If you want to sync up stuff, whether it's transferring files or getting like your calls and your texts to sync up,
Yeah.
you can take a
Yep.
Samsung phone and just hold it, and there's a little NFC icon next to the trackpad, and you just hold it there and pairs right up. Huawei did that. They've done that for the last 3 years now. I think it's been with where their devices talk kind of like Apple does. Um, so I do have a question for you.
Sure.
How do you think that Huawei would do if the ban is lifted?
At this point, they would have to do something really big in order to come back. Um, Definitely. I mean, I can't say exactly, what they could do in order to compete with what we have already with Samsung, Google, and Apple. But definitely bring something to the table, software, hardware wise, that stands out. Um, you know, Something different that we haven't seen all these other companies do. Something that is going to wow us for, stepping out of our comfort zone with a certain company or a certain product and go from there.
So, I want you to look into and look at their keynote presentation from last year with I think it was like the P30 Pro.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because what I will say about that is they have one advantage that no other company has other than Apple at this point.
Mm-hmm.
They actually do fully develop a phone, a tablet, and a computer that all you have to do is log in and you get things that are similar to like AirDrop and things of that nature. The Huawei Media
Oh,
Pad is pretty sweet. Um,
yeah.
Also, look at some of the camera reviews. And like their charging is insane. 27-watt wireless charging they've had for like 2 years now.
Oh, wow.
Um, like it's crazy to see like their wireless charging can charge 50% faster than like a lot of companies wired charge and almost twice as fast as like some companies fast wireless charging was just this last year. Like my LG G8 is like 15 to 18 watts. So,
Oh, wow.
um, now good, it popped up. It didn't take too long. So Dr. Donald Walter says, I agree. Since there is truth to the reason they're in the doghouse, I would be leery of them particularly. And then knowing they're ahead due to intellectual theft and actual theft in some cases. Yes, actually, one of their executives just got arrested yesterday. I do believe it was yesterday. The
Oh,
U.S.
really?
Yeah, one of their well, not like their top, but one of their people got arrested. The U.S. is charging them with like some pretty hefty stuff because apparently they have continued to basically what they're doing is they're paying employees that work at like Apple and Samsung factories
Mm.
to tip them off on what's coming and like stealing that.
Oh, damn.
And that's huge because the problem is that's hardware and software because it has to be running an updated version of the software that's updated for the new tech that's in there so that they know it's working. Because they put it together and then they have to run it through QC, quality control. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it has to be running. So apparently there's been some people that have been not so. But like you said, like people say, if you have enough money, and even Apple said, um,
Oh, yeah.
good company, good companies copy, even better companies steal. I think
Hmm.
was what was said. You know
Yep.
that
Yep.
that was actually taken, I believe, from Picasso.
Really?
Yeah, because it was the whole good artist copy, great artist steal sort of thing. Was um, and it was because there were artists that were doing a lot of similar artwork to what he was doing, and he was mad about it.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
his sentiment as to like people are stealing from me. I'm not happy. They're causing me to lose money. So,
Yeah.
and they have facts to back the charges. They also sometimes just walk out the door with R&D prototypes. That's true.
Yeah.
Like, but so here's my thing on that. Um, why wouldn't they have like they could easily have a way that when the hardware leaves a certain space, especially with these new U1 chips, that
Right.
it just disables everything. So like they take a product too far away from like the table where they're working on it, it's disabled. And if that chip isn't put in yet, they can't use it. So they can't just like, oh, we're not going to put that chip in so we have access to this hardware. Nothing functions without it. And then just
Right.
make it
Yeah.
so that you can't just walk out the door with like, because think about that.
They.
That's like billions of dollars a year in potential loss. Like if they just
Yeah.
walk out the door, like let's say Apple's working on like the iPhone 15 already, which they probably are at this point in a lab
Oh, yeah.
somewhere, and they just walk out the door with that. So, um,
I mean, Apple stores in general. Um. You know, I don't know if you heard a couple months ago. There was like three guys who just stole iPhones um right off the tables where people are always around, and it's just like that right there shouldn't be allowed. Like you should have security or someone always looking. I mean, I know that there's someone always at the door checking people in, but there needs to be somebody who's also looking at people who are around the store and making sure that they don't take products out with them. You know?
so, you know, I just had a thought and was thinking about here's the scary future of technology. Um, and the potential of where things could go. Quite literally, a company like Apple could implement technology where if somebody tries to steal a product and walk out the door, it sends a high frequency to that device that basically knocks them to the ground.
Yeah.
Like there already is auditory and visual warfare, like extremely bright lights and sounds that can literally knock somebody to the ground. Like people joke about the whole like you answer your phone and you hear this frequency and it takes over your brain.
Hmm.
They shouldn't joke about that because it is potentially possible. We are electronic and there are ways of hypnotism through sound. There are particular frequencies that we know put people to sleep. I use an app. I use a video every day, almost every night on YouTube that puts me to sleep that has certain frequencies that
Hmm.
relaxes the brain. our bodies quite literally, if you were hit with like uh audio pulses or electronic pulses, can knock you to the ground. They've been doing that for years. So
Yeah,
that's what I see happening. There is a potential that quite literally, if somebody steals your phone, the police could like turn on something that just when
yeah,
they go to grab the device, it pops open the camera and is like, "Oh, this isn't a child," because you would hate to have, it mess with a child, or this is a grown adult. We're gonna knock them to the ground and just does it. Um, that's the scary part about technology, though, is everything's connected. So,
yeah.
high tech
And
loving mama.
I just wrote, I just wrote back there. Yeah, definitely though, definitely. The way that technology is progressing, it's scary. Like what's gonna happen? What we thought would happen in 10 years could potentially happen in like a year or two. The way that Apple's already and other companies are stepping up to the plate and just competing with each other, making things better. It's scary. It really is.
Oh, yeah, good point. Huawei is smart enough to know what they are stealing and how to use it. Again, even much of their university training comes from the US. Many, many students go to the US. It's true. That's why there's actually been a few Chinese students that have been arrested at some of the universities like Harvard and Princeton and some of these because they were coming here, being trained, working in the labs and things like that, and taking like government information and sending it back to China because they were
Yeah,
working like as understudies and stuff in like FBI and government labs and also in like electronic company labs and stealing it. It's like,
yeah,
dang.
yeah,
And you you can't just block everybody that's from another country from having access because not everybody steals. It's not like
yeah.
you can be like, well, no, because people here steal more than anybody else. So it's like,
Exactly, exactly.
and I don't believe in that. That's extremely wrong to be like, well, you're from China and two people got caught stealing stuff, so we're gonna block every Chinese. Nope, not gonna do.
Yeah,
But so along the lines of smartphone tech discussion, I want to discuss a little bit of 5G here and some kind of research I've done and some things that I didn't really think about and things that I've been thinking about lately when it comes to, in particular, the low latency and the high speed technology of that. Um, so first off, I've talked about it a little bit before, but I have a particular condition where basically when I change um, positions, either going from standing up to lying down, usually it's from lying down to standing up too fast, it causes my heart rate to shift rapidly and makes me nauseous and like I'm going to pass out. Um, there's nothing wrong with my heart or my brain or whatever. It's just that they can like fix. So for me, having an Apple Watch has been huge because if I feel like I'm going to have issues,
yeah.
I go here, I click ECG, and I do this for 30 seconds. And when it's done, it can tell me if something looks abnormal. It gives me my heart rate, and I can base it on that of do I go to the doctor? Am I okay? Am I just having a? Because I also have really high anxiety, which is why I like doing YouTube because I don't have to leave the house.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so sinus rhythm, 81 beats per minute average. Good. So where I see this
It's
future of
really
technology
impressive.
going
What?
is instant connection from that to my doctor
Yeah,
or to my phone
yeah,
from anywhere in the world without like basically less than a millisecond delay,
Right.
potentially.
Yeah. Exactly.
Your
It's really impressive what
audio, I can't
Apple.
hear you, Apple Monster.
You can't hear me?
I do not know what happened. I don't know if they can hear you, but I can't hear you.
Can you guys hear me? Hmm.
Whoa. Good. Hold on.
All right. That's weird. I guess I'm going to be hosting this for a little bit. All right.
Is it, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Oh gosh. Well, that's strange. Let me see if somehow my audio output got messed with. No. Okay, I figured out what happened. Dang it.
Oh,
My cord got unplugged from my headphones.
oh
I
okay.
was like, what happened? Oh gosh. So yeah, Miles said he couldn't hear me. It's because I refreshed the page because I thought that's what was glitching out. So you should be able to hear me now. But anyways,
Yeah.
so that constant communication is huge for medical field because like
Yes.
ambulances and things like that not having to use like insecure frequencies because the other thing is um carriers have particular frequencies and sub frequencies that they allow only like emergency personnel on those frequencies, so like their smartphones and other devices that like even on LTE there's some of like the megahertz that is particularly held for those purposes. And
Right.
part of that is FCC regulation and stuff. Um so it's in so having the potential to have that off there and encrypted is huge. So I'm riding in an ambulance and they can just have everything sent ready to go to the hospital, and when I get there it's all synced up. They don't have to like transfer I mean they already do that, but
Hmm.
there can be delay. Like imagine you're being rushed to the hospital in a helicopter and it's like
Yeah.
5 minutes from your house to the hospital and they're typing up all this information, it needs to be there like as soon as they grab you off from that on a stretcher. It doesn't need to have delay. It doesn't need to have you have to sign over stuff. You could have already given permission. As far as like they could have a camera in there where you talk into it and say, yes, I give permission. That's recorded. You don't have to sign with your finger, and that's immediately synced up everywhere and their butts are covered. The ambulance, the helicopter, the hospital, whatever. Also, as far as that's concerned, the reverse too. So the hospital goes, "Oh no, you can't give them that medicine. Don't give them that injection. You're going to kill them. They're allergic." Well, the ambulance could have access to that.
Right. Yeah.
Having
Which
kind of
would be super
a
helpful.
central server for that is huge. Also, just the idea of like news stations, the money they could save by being able to have like a 3G or a 3G, yeah, a 3G because that'd be real fast, a 5G
Yeah.
hotspot connected up or their phone and being able to stream from their phone in live enough live time that when they add that 7-second delay, that
Right.
um, it's basically live, um, would be awesome.
So, if
And
you could put up,
even audio would be a huge thing because then you could actually have fully lossless audio quality streaming at like
mhm,
high bit rate along with good visual that because our computers compress so much and like even TVs compress so much that you want a good signal being brought in. And then the other thing is like when you're inside a building or you have a bunch of houses and that interferes with signal, if 5G is starting out at really high signal, like I saw the other day a Verizon speed test that was about 2 gigabits per second. So
yeah,
even if that was broken down to like 1/10, that's still pretty fast.
definitely, yeah, yeah. So if you could put up Miles' question right there.
Oh, I didn't see
Uh,
it. Sorry, Miles. I didn't even see that message pop in. I was responding to somebody real quick. So, do you think Face ID could be faster than Touch ID is? We already know it is. Actually,
yeah,
if you there's been some speed tests that have been done where it shows like the actual unlocking speed of the two compared, and Face ID is like instant. The other reason where Face ID has an advantage is you don't have to do anything like apps that use um, biometric authentication. So whether it's or face recognition or your fingerprint, just opening the app and it immediately goes for your face if you've told it to use that
yeah,
is faster
yeah,
than you having to think, oh, uh, it, it popping up a message saying, please put your fingerprint, and then you got to put it on. And then on the whole under-screen fingerprint scanner thing, there's one issue with that. There's not a spot like Touch ID has a very
mm,
clear spot of where you put your finger, and like these on the side scanners have a very clear spot. My LG G8, very clear spot. I can't miss it really. With these under the screen ones, I miss it all the time. Even though this device right here, actually watch this. Hold on. Not bad. That's my OnePlus
yeah, no,
7T. Now watch this though, if I can do it. Let's see if I can get this. Oops. Hold on. I gotta remember something. So we're gonna do a little demo here. Like instant face recognition.
yeah,
Like there's been times where I thought my phone wasn't locked because I picked it up and it was already unlocked. The other problem is banks won't authenticate. They actually aren't allowing a lot of these under the screen fingerprint scanners yet.
yeah, yeah.
Um, my my bank does if uh actually I don't know if my bank does. Actually, I think my bank did on my LG because of the face recognition being the 3D, but um did those tricks I sent you help? Do you notice yet? So I had a bit of a tech woe the other day. It's happened a few times where my S Pen quite literally just stopped working like 2 minutes after I would take it out and use it, and then the screen would freeze up, and I had to hit the power button like 15 times to get it to fix it.
Oh wow.
And then eventually I had to hold it down and shut off the phone and restart it, and then it would work fine. And then when it started up, I had to swipe up, and close out any apps that were in the background. If I clicked on one of them, it froze up again. So she sent me some tips on um, where you can go into the dialer and you hit it's like star pound zero star pound, and it brings up this interface where you can check the calibration of different things. So I calibrated the S Pen again, and then I went into the S Pen itself and did reestablishment of the S Pen's connection
Hmm.
and turned air gestures back on. The only um because I think that there's a glitch in their software that if that's turned off, it doesn't always charge, because my battery was like down at 10% and I hadn't been using the thing. And
Right.
then within like a minute and a half or less, it was back up to 100%. So I'm going to see if leaving those on, if I have the issue again, then I know it's some other software issue. If I don't, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go turn the air gestures off, see if I do have the issue, because now that I've established the connection, recalibrated it, if I do have the issue, then I know that there's something in the software that says that has to be on for the charge to correctly initiate or something.
Right. Yeah.
Because I love it. Like, in all honesty, I don't know that I could use a phone, in particular an Android phone, without an S Pen anymore.
Right.
I use it for my editing, like to be able to go in and do the refined, because it has pressure sensitivity. So like to be able to do the cutout around stuff for my thumbnails and be that precise has been great. Um, I've been using Canva, and Tech Love and Mama knows what that is, and it's iOS and Android, and the free version gives you pretty great stuff, and then I think the paid version is only like a couple dollars and you can unlock everything, like all the fonts and stuff. But um
Oh, awesome.
and as gimmicky as it sounds, the track changing, like going forward and backwards a track and the volume is really handy, because like I could put up like a playlist of videos on my phone and plug it into the TV and sit across the room. And like, I don't
Hmm.
want to watch this one. Go to the next one. Oh,
Right. Yeah.
the volume's too quiet. Turn it up. Oh, the volume's too loud. Turn it down. Like, just being able to do that stuff is kind of handy. Like the remote
Oh,
function of
definitely.
that.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the camera, like flipping lenses and like from front to back and switching between lenses and zooming in and out, it has issues where it thinks I'm trying to do this gesture when I'm trying to do clockwise and counterclockwise
Yeah. Yeah.
and like up and down and stuff, and it gets really confusing. Um so yeah. Let's see what is great. Face ID is definitely faster for apps that need authentication, but to unlock the phone, if you're used to touching the fingerprint scanner before you pull the phone out of your pocket. Yeah, that's true. Being able to unlock it in your pocket. That's also a disadvantage in a way, because you could reach into your pocket and like unlock it not meaning to. I've done that even with my Samsung.
Hmm.
Like, oops. Um Now, where I see the potential of things going, because these fingerprint scanners use basically, some of them use like a camera under the display, other ones use light to bounce off your finger. Like Samsung's is nice because it works without the display on, because it's using sound or sonar to bounce off your finger and read the surface, where like the
Right.
One Plus has to light up, like it lights up when I use it. I don't know. Let's see if you saw that or not. But so there's the fingerprint scanner, and it lights up when I use it. The display
Oh,
has
that's
to be
awesome.
the display has to be on because it's using light bouncing it off your finger. very similar to actually how Touch ID works, where it uses like a camera and then the screen lights up underneath your finger and picks it up. Um,
Right.
they could actually implement something similar where there's two different sensors underneath, one that's a close proximity for the fingerprint and another one that's far away for front facing camera. And that's where I
Mhm.
see things coming next to get rid of like the notch and the punch hole and stuff, is that under screen technology. Um, but they need to make it small enough that even when there's an image over it, you don't see it, because right now the implementation is noticeable. She said, definitely start a troubleshooting record with Samsung. Go to chat, have them log that you're trying this and did that. So when it doesn't work, they'll send you a replacement pen under warranty. That's true. I should do that, especially. I mean, I'm only like 5 months into 6 months, 5 months, because I got it like a month after it came out, 5 or 6 months into using it. So I have warranty for another like 6 months. Now here's my thing
Oh
though.
wow.
Um, Fortunately, I know with Samsung, if it is the S Pen, I can just take it to like a Best Buy or to like my carrier
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
even like a place that has like a Samsung shop in it, which Best Buy does. And they should be able to look at it and be like, "Yep, it's that," and then they'll just. I would rather deal with a person than
Oh
chat
yeah,
and
definitely.
then on the phone for sometimes. But um, so here's something I want to discuss a little bit.
Sure.
People being too picky with their smartphones has actually caused a problem
Mm-hmm.
because they're nitpicking on things that they never use.
Right.
It's partially creators' faults, but it's also like the few people that do use it, and then yeah, it's cool and yeah, we should talk about it, but it's like everybody doesn't need that. And it works fast
Mm-hmm.
enough. For example, 99% of the time, the fingerprint scanner on my Note 10 Plus works like perfectly. As a matter of fact, I've actually had more issues with my One Plus version of it working than that because of how it lights it up from the back if your finger isn't on there just right and it doesn't light up enough your finger to capture. So even though
Yep.
it's faster, usually it's more reliable. The other thing is Samsung's version, banks and things like that will actually um, let you use it. It's considered secure enough now. Between that and Samsung Knox and how they have their own chip like Apple does and stuff, it will work now. Such as nitpicking, fingerprint scanner's not fast enough. Face unlock isn't fast enough. It's 0.3 seconds, but we want it, so it's not noticeable and we want it from every possible angle. Problem with that is your device would never be locked because you'd walk into the room and it would unlock. There were actually people that complained about that with the Pixel, that their device was unlocking when they didn't want it to. So like their wife or their kid went to pick up the phone and it unlocked, and it was a problem because, they have work stuff on there or whatever. And so like their kid picks up the phone while they're out and about, and then some stranger could get access to it because it read their face at too many angles. There's a point in which improvements in technology risk security and privacy, and we complain about stuff. But with that being said, I'd like to see them put that technology in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and we nitpick about, um, and want them to put faster and have better data connection stuff. So they move on to 5G, but 4G still sucks. Like the average 4G speed across the nation is just starting to get to 25 meg. It was supposed to be at 50.
Mm.
Like 50 was supposed to be considered um fast.
Uh,
It's true. They do have the settings to turn these things off, but my concern is
yeah,
average consumer is I shouldn't have to go in and change 50 settings just to use my phone. Like I shouldn't have to go in and disable animations. I shouldn't have to go in and tap the build number to enable developer settings and then go in and disable animations and then go in and do this and that. It should already be done.
right, right,
Like they should if you have to do something to make the device feel as fast as it should, that should just already be enabled. Um Same thing with um so somebody brought up, and I will not name the person because a couple of people actually brought this up, but somebody brought it up in particular on a stream I was watching, a couple of streams that I've been watching. So it's not just one person, but that these new Samsung phones, um, well, since when you got the phones from them in the past, they were on 1080p to begin with. By default, you have to turn on the 1440p.
yeah,
So the theory for them was since that's the case, since 1080p is the 120 hertz on these new displays only work at 1080p. If you go to 1440p, it's slowed down to 60.
yeah,
See you, Miles. Hope you feel better. Um, that their theory was, well, then that means since by default they're on 1080p, that 120 hertz would be on. I already know how Samsung's going to do it. That won't be the case. They'll have 60 hertz on because they will. The reason that 1080p comes on by default with previous generations was the optimal battery life
yeah, yeah,
and optimal playback, lower buffering, because if YouTube sees that your phone is set to 1080p by default, unless you go in and change it, it will only let you select 1080p usually,
right,
or it will auto select something lower than that. So Samsung is not going to be putting on 1080p and have 120 hertz turned on by default because they are not going to want it to affect battery life. So people are going to be like, "Oh, this has great battery life and this has, stuff like that." Until people go, "Wait a minute, what the heck?" And then you have a bunch of people turn that on and then they see the battery life go down. But here's where I agree with their decision. 1440p uses a third more. You're talking about a third more in one direction than 1080p. That's 360p higher
hmm,
and whatever in height. So last when I did the math on stuff, it uses like I think on my phone it was like 43% more pixels. And from battery testing, it was almost negligible. Like it was a difference in like a few percent at the end of the day. But
oh well,
higher refresh rate, on the other hand, will use more because you're actually talking about the display having to use more energy, twice as much energy, twice the refresh rate. You're not
mm,
talking about because the other thing you have to think about is it's more pixels, but it's not like it's a higher surface area. It's not like if you go from 1440p to 1080p, it shrinks and uses less of the display. Um, so where I agree with their decision is this 1080p at 120 hertz. If you were to do the math, the total pixels it's pushing every second is probably very close to 1440p at 60 hertz.
right, yeah,
So they're trying to maintain battery life. So you can choose one or the other. The other thing is turn it on if you need it. 120 hertz is only going to work. It's going to work in some animations and some games. So the people that want it will be the gamers and the people that are using stuff that takes advantage of that. They're going to be techie and smart enough. They're just going to go turn it on. But if they didn't
Yep.
have it, that's just something where another company could beat them out. And it's something that like gamers. But the thing is, there's only like 4 games right now that even take advantage of like 90 hertz, and like 2 or 3 that go up to 120 hertz. But this should make that change, because you're talking about Samsung doing something. You're not talking about Asus doing it with like their ROG phone and their ROG Phone 2. You're talking about a company that sells like 60 million devices or whatever in that lineup. Like, they still sell a pretty good number of S phones. Now, nothing compared to the rest of their devices, but that's where I agree, because most games are only going to play up to 1080p too. They're going to play up to 1080p, and then you're going to get that high refresh rate. If you want
Right. Yep.
higher resolution, you can do that, and then just get bumped back to 60 hertz, and that's still plenty fast. Like, most
Oh,
people want 2K or 4K at 60 hertz. Like, with a decked out computer, that's what you can get. On a smartphone, smaller display, so few technically, but it's still the same number of pixels to push. It doesn't matter if it's on a 40-inch display or 7-inch display. It's same number of pixels, same amount of
definitely.
processing it can potentially take. Struggle with cooling, things like that. So, um, with that being said, if anybody in the chat has any questions, we're gonna be out of here in like a few minutes. So, um, it's almost 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. Typically, I try to keep this to an hour. I decided to change it up a little bit, since questions were answered really well. Um, there wasn't a ton to talk about as far as like getting to know Apple Monster, because I don't know, there just wasn't. It's not like
Yeah.
you didn't have some event that you went to that was 3 days long. You didn't have,
No. No.
so, um, is there anything that you would like to say?
No, not really.
Anything you wanted to
Uh,
talk about? Any?
Not that I can think of right now.
Okay. Um, so I guess with that, what I will say is thank you to, let's see here. Let me go back up. Thank you to Miles and Dr. Donna Walter and Tech Love and Mama and who else? Art Dog and where is it? Oh, and Geet for joining us for this episode 2 of Creator Interviews. And I should be back tomorrow with episode 3. Yes, that soon. Tomorrow night. I haven't got the time yet. So if any of you who are on here or are watching this, head over to my Twitter or post. I will come back and post in the comments down for this video what time it is, or if it doesn't end up happening, I will let you all know for tomorrow's episode. But Savage Scientist hit me up and wants to be on one of my episodes and said he'd be available tomorrow, so we're gonna make that work. There's a
Awesome.
question here about LG this year. No, let's just put it that way. I don't see them doing anything different than they already did. What they might
Yeah, definitely
do,
not.
is do just one version of the LG9, like release it as like the G8X version, where they just do one version that has the second display instead of two separate, where they release one version and you can still buy the thing, instead of like, oh, we're going to come out with one version that doesn't have it, and then we're going to release a completely different second version. So if you have the initial version, you're kind of let down and not able to do that without buying a whole new phone. That they will just release one version, because specs wise, basically the same device. The only thing that they did different, it was they removed that notch and gave it the teardrop display. That was basically the only change. And all
Yep.
models, I think, had all four lenses instead of a four lens model overseas and the three lens model in the US. So I think that's what I see them doing, is releasing one model. And as far as other companies, um, if you don't know who he is and you don't check out his videos through XDA developers on here and through his Twitter, check out Max Weinbeck, um, Weinbach, excuse me. Um, he has some information, and John at Front Page Tech will be doing a video. I think later today it's going to be coming out on the leaks of the Pixel 5 and some
I
renders.
think that's already out.
Is it? Okay. I know he posted something about it yesterday, about posting it today. Oh yeah, this morning. Okay. So it's
Yeah.
probably already
Yep.
up. I just haven't gotten a notification for it yet, so I'll have to check on that. So with that being said, Apple Monster, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me, man. It was great talking to you. Great to be on here talking to you guys. And make sure you guys subscribe to my channel. Follow me on my social media. If you guys have anything you guys want me to cover, let me know by commenting on my videos or joining me on my social media um, as well. Um, I will say, Michael, I'm gonna give you my Discord. That way you can add it to the description here. That way people can join my Discord as well.
Okay, feel free to, if you want to. What you can do is, when this video is done, just post it as a comment on the video, and then what I will do is I'll copy and paste it into the description, and then
Okay.
I'll just remove the comment. That way it's in the
Uh,
description and doesn't, or I'll just leave it as a comment, whatever. That way you don't have to try to get it to me and then have me make sure it's okay or whatever. You can just post it. That way it's there right away. Um,
okay.
so you have a good one. I am going to
You
bid
too.
you adieu, do my outro, and we'll be off. So. Well, thank you for joining us on episode 2 of Creator Interviews. I hope that you all enjoyed this discussion. Anybody who is in the replay crew, I hope that you enjoyed this too. And if you have any questions or want to join me on that episode and be a part of this journey, please connect with me either over on Twitter or Instagram, or you can always post a comment on one of my videos and I will reach out to you. Also, all my social media is in the description down below, including a support link if you feel so as to want to support, my channel with a few dollars or whatever. Um, there's a link down below there. Also, there's a link to Amazon. So if you do shopping on there and you use that link, I get a little bit of a kickback. It doesn't cost you anything extra. You can use it with refunds and stuff. You don't have to buy that particular item, because it's a link to some earbuds. But if you click and go through that link, I think it only works on a desktop right now. I do get like a percentage or a set amount. Also, if you subscribe to Amazon Prime through there, I get like a $5 or $10 credit or something like that, I do believe as well. So that's a way to support that doesn't cost you anything. there are my social media links for my other YouTube, Michael Pepper Photography, which is side of my new endeavor, and for my Facebook for Michael Pepper Tech Talk, Michael Pepper Photography, also my Instagram, my Michael Pepper Photography Instagram, and any links for Apple mounts that are down there. Also, if you missed episode 1 that I did um a couple weeks a few weeks ago after CES, please check that out. It's in the playlist. This one will also be added to the playlist. And as always, thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and God bless.